Hey, everyone, it's Isaiah. Welcome. Sorry, let me hide this live starting soon because we have started.
We have started.
Yes, we have. It's Isaiah and I'm with Christy today. Hi, Christy.
Hello.
And we're coming live to talk one last time about the Women Lighting the Way Summit 2023 edition. We're coming live to remind each and every one of you that if you're not signed up yet to watch and listen to the 14 amazing talks of our speakers, to get access to their freebies, to some amazing offers, and to a surprise booklet, well, you still have a few days to do so because the replays are on up until Sunday. So you will find the link to register above the video or below, depending on where you're watching, and in the comments, maybe somewhere, whatever. If you don't find the link and you want it, just contact me and I'll send you a link if you've not found it yet. So yeah, it's like the surviving two, Christy, because today we were supposed to do a group live and for various reasons I had to change the time of the live. So it's just you and me. The other speakers, bless them, were not available, but it was me changing on the last minute. So
yes,
we'll
and
see.
so many time zones. We're in. For some people, it's later. Some people, it's too early.
One of the things. Actually, it's one of the things that I really love about the summit, but it's also one of the things that is the trickiest to organize with the lives and even the times of the talks and the live panels. But I still love it. I still love that, that I can say my bestie from Florida, who I've never met. Hi, Christy.
In person.
And my the co-founder of the summit, who lives in Minnesota, and I still haven't hugged either. But it's gonna happen.
It is, but there's so much energy that still gets translated through video, which I think is just another thing of technology that I think is so magical, is how much I feel like we know each other so well. And I had a mastermind partner for years before I met her in person, and we only lived like an hour from each other, but it was so weird how comfortable I felt with her when it's like, this is the first time we've physically been in the same place. And yet I just felt like just such a deep comfort. And I'm sure I feel like it'll be like that when we get to meet in person.
Absolutely. It's also, there's something to say around the energy that goes through when people tell their stories as well, that you catch the story, whether you're actually sitting next to them or whether you're on video, they're on video. The first year that we did the summit with Chris, we were kind of slightly worried that this was going to be kind of a bland thing, somebody telling their story and somebody else listening to a recorded story. And it was like, oh my God, is this going to feel like real, like deep and authentic? And is it going to be touching the heart of the listeners? Oh boy, were we wrong. Of course it is. Of course it is.
And yet, it's just because we're, like normal humans and not celebrities, but that's the power of the medium of film and television. That's why, like when a TV show ends, like a series ends, there's so much sadness. Like, I really miss Ted Lasso right now.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't, because I did not fall in love with him, but there are some that I still miss to this day. Yeah. The Winchester brothers. Oh my God. But yeah, there is the Glee characters, all of them. But yeah, it's exactly. Thank you for mentioning that, and you should know, being a theater person, that this this has nothing to do with the technology in between.
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
when somebody is either a very good actor or is telling their own story, which they
Mhm.
know, and they are not playing it, they are telling it from the
Mhm.
heart. Of course it
Mhm.
reaches, of course it
Right.
matters, and it changes the life of the listener. Not
Yeah.
every story of every listener, but
Yeah.
that was for me, it, having listened to now more than 30 talks every year, um, there was something from each talk that every one of you said that was just meant for me. I am
Mhm.
convinced of that. That that this some sometimes it was half a sentence, two words, or something, even a gesture that somebody made that was addressed to me, or at least that
Mhm.
I uh, won something. I gained
Mhm.
something from listening to that part,
Yeah.
and that is really freaking powerful, I must
I
say.
I totally here with you. I mean, I work with people, you do too, online, and I work with people's homes and physical environments, and yet I pick up on the energy somebody's environment to go like, tell me about that thing back there in that corner, like, and then it's like, oh, well,
Yeah,
or like, so, it's real, it's amazing.
yeah,
It's really amazing, and I also love, yeah, like when somebody's doing, like when you're doing a card reading, and sometimes it's like, okay, I'm gonna do 3 and that's it, and it's like, or something like that. It's like sometimes, or if you're in a large group of people and somebody's doing a card reading, I'll just get like a little like, this one's for you too, even though the card reading
hmm
is first, or somebody will do like, hey, here's a card reading for everybody else who didn't make it to the live thing, and it's like, oh, there's that. And I love, I have a mentor years ago would say, thank you for being me, and I feel like that's such the theme of the summit, is how much
yeah,
we see ourselves in each other's stories.
yeah. Well, I think that that means that the title was absolutely well chosen. If we're going to
Mhm.
light the way, it means that
Mhm.
for anyone to be enlightened or to have their way lightened, they need to relate to the stories, and then to see how much their story is also full of light. Because one of the
Mhm.
things that I'm very surprised every year when I get to, okay, let me find the speakers. So
Mhm.
sometimes I invite them, sometimes they come on their own. But one of the things that most of you have said at one point or another is, I don't know if I have a story.
Mhm.
I don't know. And you should know because you had now three stories.
I've had 3 stories, right.
But really, this idea, and I know that I've heard that from attendees as well, you know,
Mm.
oh, I'd love to be there, but I don't know if I have a story. And
Mhm.
I want to make sure that I've said that again and again. We all have a story. We all have more than one story. And these stories are sometimes hidden in the shadows of what seems like a mundane repetition of days,
Mhm.
but there is a story there. And
Mhm.
uncovering your own story with the help of these speakers, with the help of the others' stories, of the other
Mhm.
stories, is going to change your life. When we start seeing the stories that we tell about our lives,
Mhm.
also, so including the story that I have no story, which is a story, right?
The story, yes, yes, yes.
But once we start seeing that, we start seeing and knowing our own story, then we can finally be the director of this TV show that we're running,
Mhm.
right? Instead of
Mhm.
being just a remote character at the back of,
Right.
um,
Right.
um,
Yeah. Yeah. In feeling like you're the star of your own show
yeah,
rather than a supporting character in somebody
exactly,
else's show.
exactly, exactly. And that you are not only the star, but also the screenwriter.
Mhm.
And you
Mhm.
can start writing the story and
Yeah.
changing the bits that you don't like and
Mhm.
rewriting things that are not working for you at
Mhm.
any point in your life. And that
Mhm.
is very much easier to attain when you have mirrors, reflections, other stories, other people's conversations, and that
Hmm.
is basically the point of Women Lighting the Way. So,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah. And it's like, even like you said, like, just even like half a sentence or a phrase, like hearing that, even listening to the other speakers talks, there were so many times I had to pause
yeah,
and like write something down and have this like, oh, like I said,
yeah,
it's like I'm listening to somebody else's story, but it's also, I'm like hearing my story through it as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the power of stories. There,
Hmm.
I ended up writing quite a few blog posts around that there in the last month or so, and so
Hmm.
kind of digging a little deeper into what is a story and how does it work for humans, and it's so freaking basic. Like,
Yeah.
I think we have two basic things that we don't use enough in our lives. It's stories and music,
Mm.
the two things that humans have been telling stories forever. In
Yeah.
the caves, we were telling stories to our kids, I'm sure, and dancing and playing music. And
Yeah.
those two things are the ones that we kind of have given up. Um,
Yeah.
we sometimes forget that we can write the stories. We don't have to only listen or read other people's stories.
Hmm.
And similarly, we can play the music. We can sing,
Yeah.
we can dance our own drums. Yeah, obviously. We're- Let's put on a musical.
Laser
Next
like
phase of
no.
Women Lighting the Way is going to be a musical. um, that'll be
Ah,
fun.
you do not want me singing. You're gonna, this is where you're gonna have to come out and sing, as I guess
Okay, now
nobody
I can
wants
do the
to.
singing, but I'm
Yeah,
not going to do any of the whatever you do in shows because I'm not good at that.
that's why we all have our own
But yeah,
thing.
so this is the last call, basically. So if anyone listening, either live or on the replay, and of course we're live if there is a live icon somewhere, and we're not
Mhm.
live if there isn't. So if you don't have a ticket yet, you can have a ticket, and the talks will be available up to Sunday night,
Right.
and then they will disappear unless you want to buy the summit, because you can buy the summit for a year. For 39 euros, and that means you have full access to everything for a year, and you can watch, rewatch, and get inspired daily, monthly by all the talks, and get
Hmm.
access to all the freebies and take your time in
Hmm.
it.
Yeah.
And when and if you do that, you also get to support Kiva. So we pay for the software that runs the summit, and once it's done, which is already done this year, I'm happy to say, we lend the money through Kiva to women in business. So all around the world, very often in underdeveloped countries, and for women to be able to run their businesses and shine their own light. So we light the way in a different way with the money that you give us when you buy the summit as well. So it's basically a complete non-profit, the whole thing. I never mentioned that, and I thought I should at some point. So here it is. I mentioned it.
Yeah. 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 Can I just say also that I think the summit inspires you to write your own story, but there's so much power in hearing, I think most of the speakers, if not all of us, have some kind of, you know, I started here and I got to here, like this story of resiliency. And so the summit is such a great tool to um bypass some of the like, can I do it, like, because there's so many stories of like, oh god, if she could do it, I can do it, if
Yeah,
you can do
yeah.
it, so I
Yeah,
can
I
do
think
it.
we actually have a speaker this year whose title is "If I Can Do It, So Can
Right.
You."
Yes.
So
Yeah.
literally,
Yeah, and I think that's one of the underlying themes is like,
yeah,
so if you're in one of these places that you just need like oof, and I mean there are some stories of overcoming stuff like
yeah,
deep piles of dew
yeah,
that really turned into some beautiful endings, and it's just, I think sometimes it's so powerful to hear other women's stories and to say like, "Oh, yeah, if she can go through that, I I'm going through stuff like that or something totally different, but I'm going through my own stuff and she can do
Yeah, and
that. I
ideas
can
on
do it."
how to, and and more than just bragging stories of hey, I did it.
Right.
It's
Right.
stories about yeah, how, like you're saying, some of them
Right.
very deep resilience
Mhm.
of original tools, like using tools that you would never think of, or
Mhm.
using events, or the things that happen that are usually not considered helpful, and
Right.
sometimes they are.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm really, I think the word that I've used most this year is humbled. So
Mm.
um but also inspired,
Yeah.
obviously. And so yeah.
Yeah. And I think,
um
a lot of us speakers also, like from our own struggles, have created the processes that helped us get out of our struggles that, then we're all offering, free
Yeah, I
resources to
mean,
keep going.
you're please tell me and everyone, and
Yeah.
maybe we can finish on that, because
Yeah.
this is such a good example. You had the
Yeah.
problems around, for instance, decluttering, because your brain
Right.
doesn't function like mine,
Right.
obviously, as we know.
We know. We
uh,
know.
and so you did create a system that works for people with brains like yours, which
Right.
is
Well,
amazing, basically,
yeah.
because this didn't exist before you.
Yeah. And
And people like me cannot explain to people like you how to declutter. I'm pretty sure
no.
no.
No, because your brain's not just, not wired in the same way, like neurodiversity and even the bigger, the decluttering process fits within a bigger context of my process called Physome, which so much of it I didn't realize at the time that I was creating it that it was creating a home of accommodations for my own brain of neurodiverse
Yeah, but I
brain
think
and
it's so
yeah,
that's literally what I was saying when I was
yeah,
saying we use tools that are original tools, and sometimes so original that we actually need to create them. So in the
right.
stories,
Yeah.
they you learn. When I listen to your story, I learn how you did it.
Mhm.
It's also a permission given to find my own tools,
Yeah,
or to get help,
right. And
in
both.
uncovering my stories, and uh, decluttering my house, or
Yeah.
changing the way I deal with my whole house situation, or home situation, with you, but other people with so many areas.
Mhm.
um, and I think that also is, for me, that's one of the things that also transpires in most of those stories, is that not many of you, or us, because I was a speaker as well, did it all alone.
Right. Yeah.
We had some help. We were sometimes, we dared to ask for help,
Yeah.
and to ask from people who have been walking a few steps ahead of us. I'm not talking about gurus or big masters, but just somebody who's been there. And all of our speakers, in their respective on their respective path, have been there.
Mhm.
And yeah, so also, if you're struggling with something, listening to someone's success story, and success, I don't like to say success story, because it has a Disney World finality. It's
Right.
I don't think either of us is finished,
God, I
or
hope
no
not.
one is finished. But we've succeeded in this area, or in that bit. So in that bit, I can help you out. And so
Right.
yeah, that's why we also were very adamant with Chris at the beginning of the summit, that we wanted each speaker to have offers, so
Mhm.
that people who get inspired and want to relate to that particular speaker can get some help in
Mhm.
that area from somebody who's been there, done it, and who's got the bloody t-shirt. So if you've got any issues with homes whatsoever, this woman is your woman.
I am.
So yeah.
Especially if your
um,
brain doesn't work like the
Yeah,
normal
but
one.
my brain is definitely not like yours, and you
Right.
helped me tremendously. I mean, we spent
That's
an
true.
hour together talking about my wardrobe,
Mhm.
and I'm still floored by the amount of change in my head and in my wardrobe, but first in my
Mhm.
head around what happened that last year in this just short hour that we spent together. So
Thank you.
that's the other thing that I wanted to mention. If we talk about you, because why not? You're here. So um, there is a lot of us believe that if I'm here and I want to be there, it's going to take a long time, a lot of money, and a lot of effort.
Mhm.
Sometimes, no, we just need
Mhm.
somebody who knows the shortest,
Right.
cheapest, easiest way. And you are this
Mhm.
person, whereas when homes are concerned,
Mhm.
if
Mhm.
if if I'm living in a shit pile of disorganized,
Right.
cluttered place and I don't want to be, if I
Mhm.
try to do this on my own,
Mhm.
however my brain functions,
Right.
it might be difficult and
Mhm.
expensive because and long. If I hire
Mhm.
you, it might well be easy and way
Mhm.
cheaper and
Yeah.
way shorter.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Because,
getting
like you
help
said, it's
is
the
not,
mindset.
yeah,
Yeah.
getting help
Excuse
is
me.
not about failing one on your own. It's about literally hiring the experts. And
Yeah.
once you listen to the stories of the women on the summit, you will know
Right.
what they are experts in
Yeah.
and how they can get you help. So yeah,
Yeah.
um, another 4 days for the replays. You have the
Yeah.
link all over the place.
Yeah.
And if you've already listened to everything and you're very happy attendee, we will see you next year for edition 2024. And I don't know
Year
yet
4.
anything about it. Year 4, yeah.
Year
Isn't
4.
that when we start learning to read?
Oh my
um,
god.
I don't have any clue what's going to happen for year 4. We will wait for year 3 to be fully finished and digested before we go into year 4. But I will keep you posted.
Right.
Thank you very much. And maybe Chrissy, you
Thank
can
you.
come back. So we'll have you, me, and Chris as the regulars. You
I
have a
love it.
seat at the bar. The women lighting the way bar has got a seat with your name on.
I'm here. I'm here for it. In fact, some ideas started already popping up around like
Okay.
what I might talk about next year. So that's kind of like, oh, okay.
Awesome. Well, thank
Yeah.
you very much for being here today.
Thank you.
Sending all the love and all the light to everyone. And yeah, if it's the last time I talk about the summit for this year, again, thank you very much to everyone
Yeah.
who came
Thank
as a
you.
speaker, who came as an attendee. Thanks to Chris for
Thanks, Chris.
being at the origin of this. And thanks to you, Christy, for being
Oh.
today the last survivor of the last call for replays. Thank you all.
I
See you
love it.
around.